everybody, this is Dear Mama Sal, and it's Saturday lunchtime. I didn't get to sleep. I went to the show last night and it was really amazing. When I say it was really amazing, to understand that this performer is 78 years old, he did a 2-hour straight up gig. And sorry, I just didn't want to run somebody over. Ruins your Saturday. Anyway, he did a 2-hour straight up gig, and then you have to understand there were like 975 people in that audience. And you know, if ever you want to know what success is, I think as a performer, that is 47 years ago, he had a hit called Please Release Me. It was such a big hit that it actually shifted the Beatles off the #1 spot. I mean, they never got to it. They were, you know, they should have been an absolute Corvette. That was adorable. It should have been an absolute shoe-in to get #1, and I can't remember which song it was. I'll have to look back. But they couldn't get to #1 because this Engelbert Humperdinck guy was sitting at #1 with a song called Please Release Me for weeks and maybe even months. Again, I'll have to look into it. So you look at it and you go, he had probably a decade where he was a really big star. And obviously, from what I can see, he's been performing ever since. As I said yesterday, what an incredible way to live your life. And there he was at 78, 79, I think. And obviously loves playing in front of an audience. You could tell that. You know, his interaction with the audience was delightful. And every time he sang one of the big hits, I mean, he sang some other ones that we all knew, but when he sang the big hits, he had a choir of 975 people. Because whether you wanted to or not, you ended up singing the words. And I realized that so much of his success time was what I call, you know, part of my playbook or songbook from my life. You know, that really was a decade that I remember very well. And I couldn't help but remember two things about the songs of then. And I hate to sound old, and I know I am. #1, the romantic songs were really romantic. I mean, they still touch your heart today when you hear them. And the other one was, they had a sound to them. I guess it was the time of the big band sound, or the big wall of sound, whatever. Just before Motown, I think. Or at the time of Motown, maybe. Anyway, but what was so incredible about it was the beat of the songs. And, you know, at one point I remember looking around the audience and thinking, we've got 975 bobbleheads in the room. Because we were all, you know, literally keeping time with our heads. It was, except for the guy next to me. He wasn't. But, you know, now I thought was really interesting was Dougie had never heard of him, therefore didn't know any of the songs. And Dougie's takeaway, because that was interesting to me, what did he think of him? And Dougie said, #1 thing, wow, he loves to perform. That was, you know, that was one of the things Dougie said. The other stuff was Dougie was amazed that a 78-year-old still had the moves that he did, dance moves, and he does. He loved his sense of humor, because, by the way, he is actually quite funny. And he was entertained enough oh, I guess they got a classic car show going on. Wow. Wow. Exercise comes before classic car shows. Sorry, Sal. Anyway, so he was really entertained. That's what he said. And he was entertained enough that he said when it was all over, we got to do this again. Because what we did is we had a quick meal beforehand, you know, in like the pub. And then we went to the show. And then rather than rush home, I asked whether he would stop and have, you know, a coffee. And I had a coffee and he had a beer because he was not driving, I was. He was going by SkyTrain. And so we stayed for another hour and just chit-chatted about stuff. Because, you know, I love to do that with him. And so it was a total evening. I think I left there at 11:30. And I got home and I was so energized, I did not get to sleep until 4. Now, I want to tell you, because I forgot to tell you, it's 21 degrees here today, which would make it 70 if you're in the States. 70 is equivalent. And I'm busy wearing what I will now call my Angela Calvin Klein top. Angela sent me this incredible cardigan from Calvin Klein. And it's just like, I've never had Calvin Klein. And the kid in me goes, she told me to wear it when I go walking. So I don't care that it's 21 degrees out or 70 degrees out. I am wearing my coat. Now, I'm probably going to tie it around my waist when I'm actually walking. Because I don't want to sweat in it, do I? But it was just like, how thoughtful was that? I couldn't believe it. Okay, I've got a guy on a motorbike ahead of me that really, when I look at his size, he would be, maybe he's doing the same as I am. I was going to say he'd be better at getting off the bike and walking wherever he's going. But on second thoughts, he might be doing exactly the same as I am, which is driving to somewhere pretty to walk. And that's going to be my my word for today is link, L-I-N-K. Because I have now linked Saturdays, as long as it's a nice day. Be it hot or cold, I don't mind, but link is what I'm going to do. I'm going to link Saturdays to find somewhere pretty to walk. Doesn't matter whether it's the coast or whatever, but I want to find somewhere pretty to walk so that I can enjoy nature. And then I thought, you know, that's really a good idea every day for those of you who are struggling a bit to get out of a funk or who are trying to get something done. It's a really good idea to link things to things. For example, you remember when I want to write the book, Jenny Jen said, well, link it to something. Or I want to do the exercise, that was right. And she said, well, link it to something. You know, tell yourself you've got to do exercise before you can upload the movies. That way you'll do it every day. Now, I missed 2 days this week. I missed Friday. And then again yesterday. So both today and tomorrow I'm going to be doing a lot more than 10 minutes. Now, I had 1,001 reasons why I should not do this today. I need to do some housework, and also I've got to go and get my hair cut, and I've got to broadcast, you know what I mean? I've got stuff. And in fact, what I did was I left half a coffee at home, my first coffee of the day. I left half a coffee at home and said, no, you need to get out and walk. So this is an act of love of myself, and I have linked it to Saturday. Now I also checked the tides, and the tides are going out at the moment, but not as much as I would like. So I've decided to go to a different beach, so you get a different view. So then what I was thinking about is, you know, if I link every day with a different task, the guy on the bike stopped. Wow, he's not as young as I thought. The guy on the bike stopped, and he stopped to see a 1960s Mercedes, the pagoda type one. I tell you something, I don't blame him. I would have stopped and had a look at that as well if I were capable of buying it. Love that shape. It's my favorite car for so long. Oh, somebody put a couch up. Really beautiful couch. Oh, I'm in what they call the swanky part of my neighborhood. You know, the houses here have got rather a lot of zeros after them, and they're big, and a great many of them look out onto the ocean and have quite a bit of land around them, if you know what I mean. There are some beautiful, beautiful homes around here. And that brings me to something else that I can always remember a banker telling me. She said, so when you're ready to buy a house, and this is a friend of mine who was a banker, when you're ready to buy a house, go to the best area you can and buy a shack if you have to. Because in terms of investment, a shack in a really good part of town appreciates money far better than a mansion in a poor part of town. So, now, there's part of me that went, but I'd rather like to live in the mansion. Yeah, that's what my kid would like to do. But I always remember her saying that. So when I actually did get ready to buy a house, I actually went to an area that's considered to a large degree a retirement area because of its weather. It has very nice weather, you know, for where I live. And that was thinking ahead because I knew that's where I was headed. And then I bought the best I could. And I must say that I'm pretty sure that whatever the market's like by the time I actually am ready to sell it, I will be very glad that I bought what I did and where I did. Because it is the land that you buy when you buy a house. I'm just passing the place where we hold that young people's leadership. event every year, and I'll put up a notice about that as soon as I've got the information, just in case any of you in the Pacific Northwest area know anybody that would fit into the age group. Okay, so I'm nearing where I want to go, and I'm going to take you with me. It's a really pretty day. I have good news and bad news. Good news is I got here. The bad news is there doesn't appear to be... Oh, yes, I lie. I lie. There's just one parking spot. And it's mine. Okay, everybody. I'll see you in a bit. Well, I can definitely feel I did that. There's something about walking on a beach that takes a lot more energy, especially when the beach is on an incline. So I did 29 minutes. Now, to be fair, along the way I did stop and talk to a couple of dogs, because you know I would. But I'm pretty proud of myself for that, because it was not easy walking. The beach was at quite an incline, and so all the time you've got one leg lower than the other, so you're using muscles that you wouldn't normally use that much. So I feel I've done my good deed for the day, and caught up at least one day that I missed. So I'm just going to add a bit more to every walk this week, just so that I can make sure that I'm keeping on track here. It really is amazing to me how terrible I felt when I missed the day, and then I subsequently missed a second day, which tells you everything you need to know. You know, you break the routine and suddenly the routine isn't as important. I did 5.5 weeks without missing a day. And I really felt like a loser for having missed out a day for no good reason. I mean, I'd love to tell you there was a good reason for it. And the good reason was just I didn't put it as a priority. I put everything else as a priority first. So I'm learning. So today, without a doubt, you know, I don't care what I do before I do anything. I'm going out to walk. And I'm going to go home and finish my cup of coffee, which will be cold, but I'll nuke it up again. And then I need to go and get my hair cut. So it's going to be a fun day. All right, everybody, I'll catch up with you later. Actually, I wanted to talk about something that I saw out at that beach, at the dog section. There was a guy who was up to his knees in water, so we know that his dog could not put, and he had a golden retriever, no, a black lab. He had a black lab, so you know that if he was up to his knees, that black lab could not put his feet down and take a rest, right? He had to stay swimming the whole time. And he kept throwing a rubber ring, type thing, out into the water for the dog to go get. And he threw it a long way. He was a big guy. He could throw it a long way. And then the dog would go all the way out there and get it, and then retrieve it, bring it all the way back. And then without getting a chance to put his feet on solid ground, even if he wasn't out of the water, you're just that moment of giving him a chance to relax. No, he'd just throw it out again, and again, and again. And I got to the stage where I nearly, I did wonder, at what point does this become abusive? I mean, obviously the dog loved to swim for this thing. There's no doubt about that. But also remember, that's his whole upbringing. Right? He's a retrieving dog, so he knows he has to go and retrieve whatever drops in the water. That's his reason for being. So he wouldn't think twice, and he'd probably swim his heart out, literally, doing that. So I don't know. I had a bit of a problem with that. And maybe some of you other dog owners could tell me what your view is. I would say that he had that dog swimming probably for nearly half an hour. Now, was it good exercise for the dog? Sure it was. Sure. Okay, obviously I had a bit of an issue with it. I cannot believe how hot and sweaty I feel after that walk. The temperature's dropped to 20, so it's about 69, I guess, 68. And yet, that was really hot. But just long enough to be entertaining. All right, everybody. I'll chat to you later. Bye for now.